This is not a test. This is reality.
It's the weekend, and we are going beyond the strange with host Dave Cruz on Spaced Out Saturday Nights.
Dave's the killer! Yeah! Dave's the killer! Dave's a mess.
When the clocks, they never stop, they barricade my face.
You can follow Dave on Twitter at StrangeDave70. Hit him up on Skype, Strange Days 2015. And you can follow Dave on our website, spacedoutradio.com.
Things are prey. I push until I break. I feel them start to scrape. The core of all I am is chiseling away. And every speck of life is gonna rot away in time. We turn to mud or turn to stone, it's a grand design. Remains of petrified hearts and I'm lost inside. We all self-destruct, love is to deny.
The probability is low, but the discoveries of the Kepler mission suggest that there are billions of habitable planets in our galaxy alone. And there are at least 100 billion galaxies in the visible universe. So it seems likely that there are others out there.
Now, get your tinfoil hats on tight as Spaced Out Saturday with Dave Cruz begins right now.
You're here to turn me inside out and then turn me away. For all my life I choke on clouds of savior smoke until my blackened soul was burning away. And every speck of life is gonna rot away in time. Return to mud, turn to stone, it's a grand design. A maze of petrified hearts and I'm lost inside. We all self-destruct and all this to deny.
Hola, everyone, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Cruz, for tonight. Dave Scott is out playing hooky tonight. Not hockey. He's out rocking out with Guns N' Roses. Lucky guy. But anyway, it's nice to be here with you all tonight, and this is September 1st, Saturday, September 2nd, if you're on the East Coast. We are live here on the West Coast from the Napa Valley wine country, just outside the mystical Sonoma Mountains. Join us now as we will take you on a heck of a ride. Let's welcome in everyone listening on our terrestrial stations, WQEE 99 Rock the Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and head on over to freedomslits.com and donate today. Like our music, but then join us with Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow Dave at Spaced Out Radio Show again. And you can follow me on Twitter at StrangeDave70. And subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, that is, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. We are also on radioguide.fm, TalkStream Live, and on Stitcher. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. And if you go to patreon.com for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of Spaced Out Radio. If you want to take part in the show, sign into one of our chat rooms on our website by clicking Listen Live on Revolution Radio, on Spreaker, on the UPRN chat room, and Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Twitter, just go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I'll get your questions in there as well. I promise I will. Just remember, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. If you head over to our website for just $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. And as of right now, you can go to Spaced Out Radio store and pick up a t-shirt, poster, or an SOR sticker. Remember, guys, Christmas is just around the corner. So if you're talking about some great stocking stuffers, this is the way to go. And we have The Encounter online that deals with everything paranormal, courtesy of our editors, Eric Markham and Everett Thiemer. You can check out Dave Scott's latest blog there as well. And if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV also have some great video viewing as well. Now, on the first Friday of every month, which is tonight, ET contactee R. Keith Andrews discusses the purpose of aliens coming to Earth and having contact with us. Keith is not only an ET contactee, he's also highly intuitive. Keith's gifts have helped him help others for more than 30 years. Keith proclaims he has been in touch with more than 25 different extraterrestrial species since childhood. He is a near-death experiencer as well, and Keith's website is www.innervoiceenterprises.com. Please help me welcome back to the show on the first of the month, R. Keith Andrews. How you doing tonight, Keith?
Not bad at all, Dave. Thanks very much for having me. And, welcome to the show yourself. I know this has got to throw you for a little bit of a loop.
Well, if you couldn't tell, I actually play the Saturday night music.
Yeah, I noticed that. But, welcome to live radio. And, the one thing I do want to let people know, is, give you a break because it's, let's face it, you're filling pretty big shoes and rather well worn in ones. So I mean, you do what you can with it, but that's one of the challenges with this way of doing it.
Absolutely. No, this is fun though. I mean, I wouldn't miss it for anything, and I'm very humble, very, very humble to have Dave Scott ask me to fill in for him.
The one thing I should clarify right off the bat is something that I only just got sorted around a couple of days ago. You said my website is innervoiceenterprises.com. Well, there's a whole long story behind that. All of my sites I shut down, but the one that's going active again within the next little while here is innervoiceenterprises.ca.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's just one of those things that I haven't even had time to talk to Dave about it. I only did it 2 days ago, I think, that I picked it up to get things sorted out. But, the funny thing about this whole situation, this particular show can go any direction. And, I mean, we've got a lot of listeners. You end up with a lot of new listeners coming in from all over the place. And, just to give you an idea, I don't watch the Twitter account because, frankly, I've only got 2 monitors to work with. So I am in both the Spreaker account, in the Spreaker chat room, and in the Facebook. So for the people listening, for pity's sakes, if you've got a question, please type it in, but put it in capitals. It makes it easier for me to see it.
It really does. And everybody in Spreaker chat and Facebook chat, I just want to welcome everyone in right now and thank you all for being here tonight. And also on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, I can see, God of Thunder is already there. Dennis, of course, is there. John T., Nicholas, Orion. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. We're going to have a great night tonight. It's just going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, it's a lot of work. But the thing is, the biggest, and I find it entertaining, really, the number of people that are still trying to figure out whether or not we're actually alone. Even if only 0.5% of the recorded or reported visitations or sightings were real, that's still a staggering number for people to question whether or not mankind is on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's, and I mean, the governments keep going, no, it's not there. And people keep saying, it's all conspiracy. Okay. It really isn't quite that way inclined. It's not that, it's about as obvious from my standpoint, that this is just the way it is. Okay. So, I mean, you look at that. And one of the things we have to look at is, why are they here? Now, now we're starting off real easy. I tell you, we asked people, Dave, to put it in capitals, and right off the bat, Bob Davis in SOR in Facebook there, he goes, what significance, if any, is the recent solar eclipse to our planet other than the obvious? Well, if we eliminate the obvious, pretty much not a whole lot. The one thing it actually does, Bob, is it causes people to pay more attention to the skies, to what's going on, and therefore people are more likely to see the event. There are, of course, the races that watch a solar eclipse and are taking readings off the planet, some will be picking people up to check on the impact on the cell structure of humans. So yes, there will be abductions that are done for specifically that reason. But is it something that you have to worry about, or is it something that means all of a sudden the end of the world is coming, or all of a sudden we've got some sort of massive alien attack coming in? No. Okay, but it does have the effect of encouraging people to look at the sky, see what's going on, and questioning, just exactly how much man is going through.
I got a question, Keith.
Absolutely.
How different was this eclipse than to some of the past eclipses that we have had? Like, I remember we had one in the 70s. I was just a kid, but I don't really remember it like that big of an event. This was a major event, and people were getting out of their cars, pulling out on the side of the road, of course, and checking out the eclipse from everywhere they were at. And a lot of there's been a lot of stuff. I don't know if you covered it with Dave or not, or if Dave's covered this already, but there's a lot of different events, especially with cryptids, that happened during this eclipse.
Right. Well, first and foremost, the biggest difference, in all fairness, is location. Okay. We happen to be here, and it was more visible from this end. Okay. So but again, the one thing on the metaphysical, astronomical side it does is it makes people pay attention more to the stellar events than just the idiot box and who shot who and who chased the black puck into what net. Okay. And if I sound a little, shall we say, non-sports oriented, understand I didn't grow up with sports that well because, 12 years old I tore my leg apart and that ruined sports completely.
That could. Right.
Yeah. You just don't learn to pay a lot of attention to it after that. But the eclipse, what it really does, in all fairness, is it gets people thinking. Now, the one back in the 70s was simply in a different location, and therefore didn't have as big an impact. But the other critical difference, of course, is pretty black and white. This is the first one of the millennium. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think there's been another one, and certainly not in this area. Okay. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it does, it does create an interesting situation. Now, I noticed, I'm going to go sideways on you. I warned you about this one earlier, Dave, for a reason.
I understand.
Back here, over in Spreaker, where is it here? I've got to remember who the heck it was. Just scanning up, and this is called live radio, and we get confused here quite regularly. That's just me.
Well,
Susan Mack, not just me. Susan Mack asked, if North Korea fires a nuclear warhead, will the Off-Worlder Council intervene? And from all reports, and if you take a look at history, the answer is yeah. In all likelihood, they would. Okay, cannot speak for certain, but I do know in 1986, when the United States went to, I believe it was called DEFCON 1, they turned around, and the UFOs actually, the silos were all ready to go. They'd lit them, and the off-worlders came in, and they released this just about 2 or 3 years back now, I think, that I found out. The UFOs came in and shut down all the nuclear warheads. And I'm presuming they'll do the same thing again. So I mean, all in all, it's an interesting situation. Is it possible it'll go off? Certainly. I certainly am not going to say absolutely they're going to stop it, but they don't need a dead planet. And then I guess if you take a look in the chat rooms now, you said, Dave, that you were in Spreaker, right?
Spreaker and Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. So you've noticed undoubtedly in Spreaker, the questions are coming in from every direction today.
Coming fast.
Oh, they are, which is fabulous.
Awesome.
So the other one that Don Goodwin asked, because I'm trying to catch up to them, and we'll just do my best, asked how close the asteroid will come tonight. Well, sadly, Don, I'm going to have a bit of a problem here. I don't know which asteroid we're talking about, but we can safely say, since I'm not getting any concern over it, it ain't going to hit. Unlike the one that I do know is coming in, I just haven't got a time frame for you that is going to hit, but it's just a little one, so it won't matter too much. One thing to keep in mind, we are not looking at a planet killer. Even if we were looking at a planet killer, this planet is too important to the consortium. They won't let an asteroid wipe out this planet. It's counterproductive to what they're doing.
What are they trying to do, Keith?
Well, this is the biggest library in the sector. And bearing in mind the triple helix that has all the data and the neural net, which was an accidental development, there is so much information here that they're having, they've got a lot of research that can be done. And of course, mankind, mankind itself is, it's already gotten off the planet. This is not a question of mankind getting off, and mankind already did. Mm-hmm. What most people don't realize is mankind is already on the moon, on Mars, on Io, which is one of the moons of Jupiter, and recently opened up on Titan, which is one of the moons on Saturn. Now, people are going to undoubtedly go, hey, wait a minute, where's your proof? Well, I'll tell you what, give it 20 to 30 years, you'll get your proof. Sadly, that's about how far ahead of the game I seem to be from what I've seen. So now, yeah, Susan goes, I heard they were around during the Fukushima explosion. They were. They had to do the recordings and what have you. They understand the off-worlders are not here to clean up mankind's mess. Mm-hmm. They're here to guide mankind in cleaning up its own mess. But man has to realize that regardless of any of the differences, color, creed, nationality, sexual orientation, you're all the same people. Okay? You're all human. Now, in case you weren't aware, Dave, when I say they're all human, let's be realistic. There are a number of hybrids on this planet and other races, and many of the hybrids, frankly, don't know they're hybrids. Mm-hmm. Okay, they really don't. So when we're talking about the hybrids, when I say everybody here is human, well, that's an overstatement. That's like saying every animal on the planet is a bear. It doesn't. It's not a real surprise on that end. Now, I've got to answer a question. I forget who asked it, and of course, the questions and the comments are coming in extremely fast today.
Very fast.
It's just absolutely incredible the speed they're coming in, which makes it really fun. But that being said, and I'm going to give up trying to figure it out. Somebody there was a male in the chat room just a little bit ago on a recent picture of me in the, and I'll apologize to whoever asked, because frankly, I can't find the name. But there's a new picture of me on Facebook that has a pendant. And that was given to me as a gift at the last Experience or Speak conference that I was at over in Portland, Maine. I was there last year. This year, due to circumstances, it was canceled. So for some bizarre reason, between it, finances, and multiple heart attacks, I didn't go. However, for those of you that are going to be there, I think it was Eric actually stated a little bit ago, but yep, it was. Eric over in Spreaker has mentioned that I will be at the Paracon down in Concrete, Washington,
right,
on the 23rd of September this year. We've already got that all sorted around. We are active as all get out tonight. It's amazing. But the biggest thing people have to remember is that when we're talking, in all fairness, Bob Davis is in Spreaker now too.
He's in both places.
Yeah, he is. He's literally still in Facebook, and he's over in Spreaker. He gets around a little.
I noticed.
But Bob has actually made the comment here: Earth is a jewel in the universe, and it really is.
Yeah.
It was an accidental evolution, the neural net, which literally is the way mankind has interacted. Because of the way it evolved, mankind developed a connection with what is called the neural net. And that is the link between man and the rest of the planet. Okay. So from that end, from that end, we are looking at a lot of different reasons for different races. Are the different races here to accommodate things? Absolutely. Okay. They are here to do research. There is a hybridization program putting their people on the ground. Now, bear in mind, a hybridization program was built by the Greys, and it was done to grow cultural interpreters. Now, question for you, Dave, but have you ever heard of a universal interpreter?
I can't say that I have.
Okay. The universal translator, is the actual term that most people know it by. And what it boils down to, you have to watch Star Trek to pick that up. But the universal translator, what they do is, welcome to live radio. Phone's still ringing in my office.
That was a nice tune.
When you're dealing with a universal translator, it's a mechanical device. They type in one language and it spits out a rough approximation of what you're trying to say as a logical interpretation. It doesn't do a thing for the inherent meaning. So what ends up happening is you get a lot of misunderstandings. Mm-hmm. Take a look at somebody speaking Parisian French and somebody speaking, what we teach in school. It's absolutely retarded. And I know there's people out there that'll go, oh, that's not a nice word to use. Sorry, I learned most of my language, I think, from the dictionary. Retarded means slower or restricted. And, well, frankly, if you're going to take offense to that, you'll probably take offense to a lot of things I say. But that's okay, I'm used to it. The universal translator works great if you're just looking for a gauge. But it's useless, almost, compared to a cultural translator that's been grown. That's been born. That's where the hybridization program comes in. Because the hybrids have an instinctive understanding of both languages, both cultures, because it's built into the cell structure. So, I mean, what you're looking at is a way of them trying to get communication up and running, trying to show people how to handle things. And, on the planet, how to interact, how to communicate. And mankind is surprisingly, I almost want to say, fearful of that interaction. Okay, mankind has been taught so well to fear the unknown or to fear that which seems different, they don't pay attention to what is similar. Okay. Dolly, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, my apologies. But she's mentioned, I've met people who take offense to my understanding of the English language. In this day, they say it is political correctness. My peers tell me at school. Well, in all fairness, I had a friend of mine the other day tell me that when political correctness first came out, I'd already gone so far beyond being politically correct. The closest I can get to being politically correct is when I'm speaking politically, in my eyes, I'm correct. I think that's about as far as it goes. Craig in Spreaker has asked, is there a way to mitigate the amount of ET DNA memory you unlock or shut it down? Now, I'm going to have to put it this way, Craig, because there's so many different levels to that. When the hybridization program is built, like when it's initiated, it all opens up at the same time. But it depends on how the individual and the people they come in contact with deal with it as to how much of the ET memory comes to the surface. Now, the hybridization program was designed to make the physical appearance remain as close to human as they could get away with. Okay, it was literally, and it's not just with humans. when they're building a hybrid to place on a planet, they do the modifications so that the parent genome, the dominant life form that they are trying to add the hybridization to that civilization with, they do their best to make them look human, okay, or look, gray, or look Pleiadian, depending on the planet they're being put on. And, just a quick thanks to Char. Char in Spreaker has gone, Keith, use the word retarded in the proper way. The biggest problem that I run into with the whole situation of the way people are with each other is people are so caught up in who's right, who's wrong, what should be done. They don't stop to look at the impact of what they're doing. Okay, and I see this all the way from whatever walk of life we're dealing with. Okay, and I mean whether we're talking politics, whether we're talking religions, whether we're talking, education or sexual orientation. People get so caught up in the differences that, they forget about the similarities. And Trippin in Spreaker has just made a wonderful little announcement. Well, I don't know if it's an announcement or not, but Dave just kicked back and relaxed tonight. Pretty sure Mr. Andrews knows the questions we're going to ask as we type them. Might have to kick his shin to get him back to Earth, though. Hey, I'm not coming back if I get an option, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Trip. I appreciate that. But actually, and not to throw you off of what you were talking about just a minute ago, Keith. It's pretty interesting because I'm looking at the hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, and where the comments are coming in. We got John T is saying, "Wait, did he just say that aliens have a knowledge of both languages? Then said it's in biology?" Ha ha. And also, God of Thunder says, "My intelligence is getting offended, or Keith."
Well, we'll start with the first part.
I don't think they're questions. I just believe they're comments, but
they may well be.
Take them as you will.
Comments quite often lead to interesting sidetracks. Where it comes to, did I say languages and then that it's in the DNA? Oddly enough, the odds are I did, but it's also accurate. Language is not only taught, it is also understood. There are multiple cases where kids are born, they don't get around people speaking, and they start by speaking a language fluently. Okay, it's got to come from somewhere. Now, as far as the comment, "Oh, my intelligence is insulted," well, politely put, that happens, and if you're intelligent, and it may well have been meant as a joke. And that's a great issue. I've been known to misread jokes quite consistently. My sense of humor bites on occasion. But as I was told by one very, very well educated individual, if your intelligence is actually offended, then your intelligence may not be as high as what you were thinking it was, and certainly your wisdom isn't. Right? The one guy I was talking to, he flat out told me that I have a temper problem when it comes to dealing with what I consider stupid questions or stupid people. And he says, but I'm just not used to being considered stupid. Right? And don't get me wrong, I am not the brightest person on the planet. As a matter of fact, I'm dumber than a bag of fence posts on occasion. Eric in Spreaker has asked, don't aliens know all languages anyway? And the answer is definitively no. If they did, we wouldn't have the confusion from some of them. Yeah, I like Tracy here. Political correctness is individualized to me. If you don't give it, then it's wherever you feel, whatever you feel is right. And it's not a question of, in my opinion, it's not a question of whether it's right or not. It's a question of trying to figure out what's going to upset somebody and what isn't. Okay. So we've got a lot of different issues. The odd part about it is when you look at what these people, why they're here, let's eliminate one little detail. There is not, as far as I'm aware, one race on this planet that is absolutely bent on conquering the planet or wiping it out. If any of them were interested in wiping it out, rest assured we wouldn't be questioning whether or not there were other races here. Trippin has asked, this is interesting. Mr. Cooper, how do aliens and the paranormal, okay, this was typed really odd. How do aliens and the paranormal able to communicate in all languages, even connecting to us without speaking? When you've got a race that is telepathic, nobody, or virtually nobody, thinks in terms of words. People think in terms of pictures. When I say the word hammer, people don't think of the spelling of the word. They get a picture of what they consider a hammer. Okay, so it's a question of getting the gist of what somebody is meaning, watching for inflection, watching for shifts in the case of some races, watching for shifts in the way that the brain is interacting. Dennis has asked, what about pheromones? Pheromones are not, sad to say, Dennis, pheromones are not coming from a fart. Pheromones come from something entirely different. And there are races that actually do communicate by pheromonal response. Now, humans are not very good at dealing with pheromonal response, aside from where it comes to mating signals. Okay, or other close contact. I mean, BO is, in one sense, it's thought to be a pheromone, but it really isn't. It's simply a case of somebody not dealing with things. Trippin'? I hate to tell you this. Trippin' goes, no such thing as stupid questions here.
Oh, yeah, that was a while back ago. I saw that.
Well, I scanned through this, and the reality is I can't keep tabs on all of them by any means.
I'm with you. I mean, it is moving tonight. I mean, it usually does move. Don't get me wrong, but it's interesting. It's flying.
It's phenomenal. Like Shar has asked, are aliens meaner to people who don't want them here? No.
That's a good question.
No. It sort of depends on which alien, but in all fairness, most aliens don't understand people know the issue of whether or not people want them here. The thing we have to understand, Shar, is this: if an interaction is taking place and the alien is being gentle, the person will be more relaxed about it. If the person is all wound up and the alien is getting frustrated, yes, it's going to come across as being meaner. But then when you think about it, when human scientists are trying to pin down a tiger, if they're being gentle, the tiger's a little bit easier to work with. If they're being hard, then it becomes then it becomes a bit of a combat, if you will. Okay.
I just had a fight with the street cat. Forget the tiger. I remember you guys mentioning cats on the last episode, by the way.
Yes, Laborians. I was actually asked what they were called, but there's actually two different types that I've dealt with consistently. Laborians are one, and a version of lichen, or one of the lichen subspecies is the other. But they're feline based. Now, do understand they're not necessarily feline physiology, but they look similar to cats on Earth, so calling them feline based works. Now, Bob has asked, if aliens come from a billion miles away, etc., why do a lot of them seem to crash once they get to Earth? I love it. They don't know how to drink. They don't know how to shift out a sublight.
Tracy has a good one in Spreaker. Keith, can you have dreams that are actually contact with ET?
Try that again.
Tracy has asked from the Spreaker chat, Keith, can you have dreams that are actually contact with ET?
Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Because what happens is when you have contact with an ET, they do their best to overlay it with something familiar, or your own mind tries to overlay it with something familiar to make it less of a disturbing dream, a disturbing reality. Okay. So what'll happen is it comes across, it leaks through in the way of a dream. And that's how people try and cope with it. Okay. So, is it possible to have dreams? It happens quite frequently. It's also possible and frequent to happen where people have a memory flashback. They'll be sitting, they don't know they've been taken. They're sitting watching a movie, and they watch something, and it triggers a reaction. Okay. Quite often that unknown reaction is caused because of something happened that they've forgotten about. Mm-hmm. Eric has written in here in Spreaker, I did field research and was appalled at the way we were expected to treat the animals we studied. Do the ETs look on us like we look on salamanders? Many of them, Eric, unfortunately do. I call it unfortunate because, well, frankly, it's kind of a frustrating issue. And of course, Dennis, who's sort of tied to this, why do pets never seem to respond to aliens? Sometimes I know, but during an abduction, they never respond. Well, there's two factors involved. Number one, we take a look at the research. Many of the aliens don't understand how humans think. So they look at them like a lower life form, because humans are doing things that are absolutely retarded where it comes to civilization advance. Not the least of which is mankind's already gotten off the planet, and yet there is not a successful race out there that has successfully gotten off the planet and did not have a global, did not have a world, a world government. Mankind is still multiple tiny little governments, and they're all fighting with each other, and yet they still manage to get off the planet. And this is one of the things that concerns the off-worlders, okay, is that mankind is able to do things completely backwards and still succeed. That makes them dangerous. Okay, the issue around the pets, understand there's a way of knocking people and pets out. It takes less of a low run. It takes less of a impact from a subsonic vibration to knock most animals out. Okay, because they work on instinct, they're easier to put to sleep. But you'll find cats are extremely quick to pick up off-worlders. So are dogs. But they may not sense them as a threat, and therefore may not seem to do much. Like Elizabeth in SOR, in Facebook, has mentioned that pets will play with aliens and vice versa. And that is very much the case because they don't fear them. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues that happen, and especially when we look at the issue of why are they doing it? Well, they're taking samples, they're checking on bloodlines, they're taking a look at migratory patterns of humans. It's quite a I like that one. How do they reproduce? Well, that's about as complicated as we get. That question comes from Shar in Spreaker. And the thing is, Shar, that's like asking how do mammals reproduce? Or more to the point, really, how do life forms on Earth reproduce? There are so many different methods that it's absolutely, overextended, if you will. Think of the way. I think what I'm going to do, and tell me what you think about this idea, Dave, but I'm going to have to start putting onto either, I'm going to have to actually do some audio recordings myself and get into different actual cultural descriptions and explanations of the different races. Because, with the different races I'm dealing with, I actually do know a fair chunk of their different cultures, their different ways of looking at things.
We talked about the past lives thing, and does any of that stick? Life after life. And when I mean by when I say this is what you learn in a previous life. Does it stick into the next one? Like, say you learned a language, all of a sudden you start speaking Italian and you don't know why.
Sometimes the answer is yes. Okay. The reality of it from that standpoint is that most people, when they come in the transition of coming back into the planet, they end up basically forgetting it. So this is why everybody doesn't come in doing something intelligent or something absolutely retarded when they're born. Where it's totally not thought through. Okay. Because the amount of memory the amount of overlay, especially if you've skipped a couple of 100 years in your last jump, if you bring back all of that memory, you may get lost in your current life. Okay. So, Eric's going. Eric, I'm presuming this is referring to the issue of the different races and cultures. Eric in Spreaker has said I should put it in a book. Intriguingly enough, I'm in the process of that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Dolly in Spreaker says we can now do genetic manipulation on our own children and getting better with it, called designer babies. Right. Yeah, now if only we could get them to actually put together humans that actually thought about what they were doing first, it would probably be a lot better off. Eric's asked, how many of the off-worlders entangle reproduction with the emotional attachments humans do? Oddly, all of them. You do not. What happens is the races that don't exhibit much in the way of emotional attachment, it's not that they are not disposed to it. It's that over the centuries, they've learned to suppress it to the point that it becomes a recessive trait. So it doesn't surface very well. But all of them have a sense of what feels right or what doesn't. You quite literally cannot have true sentience if you don't have both the logical side and the emotional side of the component. And quite frankly, everything in between. Okay, because it requires both to keep that balance. Okay, this is why AIs are, the reason people fear AIs, artificial intelligence, is because if you build a computer that is thinking its way through logically and not composing that emotional component, the result is pretty much certain. If you take a computer and you give it a logical question, stop human hunger. Okay, we want to end human hunger, turn it over to a computer. The computer will come to the conclusion the way to stop hunger
I can see
is
it
to
coming.
kill off 90% of humans.
Oh, I saw that coming a mile away.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Now,
that would be logical from its standpoint, actually.
It's logical from most of the races' standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
People have asked me so many times, why don't the aliens come down and sort out our mess? Well, let me ask you this, Dave. Okay, and this is just for everybody to think about. If you have kids and you tell them to go clean up their room and you keep sending them back to clean it up, sooner or later they'll get tired of it being messy. But what happens if you constantly go in and clean it up for them? Are they ever going to stop? Are they ever going to start cleaning it up? If you don't say anything, right, are they ever going to turn around? Now, Tracy has asked, Keith, do you believe Asians are the highest on the evolutionary scale, being that they are shorter, more intelligent, regimented, disciplined, yada, yada? Not a snowball's prayer. Don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against Asians. But there is not one nationality of human on this planet that I've run into that has a categorical higher evolution. Quite frankly, I was told by one person in particular that I'm the only true racist they ever met. Because I look at a question like that, and I see it a lot, blacks, Asians, white people, you look at Christians or Buddhists, you look at, gays and, your transgenders. Everybody looks at them and goes, this one's better than the next. And when I got told I was the only true racist that this person had ever met, I looked at her and I said, you care to explain that? And she goes, yeah. Everybody looks at all these different factors. You look at the entire race and go, you're all completely backwards. The fact that Asians are shorter, well, they're not the shortest. Go to the Congo. They're shorter. Trust me on this. Are they more intelligent? Well, last I checked, Stephen Hawking, who is one of the most intelligent people apparently on the planet, I personally question that, but IQ-wise, he may well be, but certainly not one of the wisest from what I've understood. But he ain't Asian. Okay. You take a look at Einstein. He wasn't Asian. But I don't look at them as any less either. Okay. Frankly, I've met some people from every walk of life that are brilliant, some that are absolutely dumber than a fence post, and people in the middle. So, do I take a look at it and see any real problem? There's all sorts of complications, but what people have to realize, on the whole, and I'm gonna hold myself right there. Dave, did you look at the time?
Yeah, we got 2 minutes before the break, and I have a question that we have to get to before we go to break, because this comes from God of Thunder in the Twitterverse at the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, I'm not sure if this is a real planet, but he really, really needs me to ask you. And he wants to know, oh man, where did it go? Hang on one second. Believe me, this was a good one. Oh my gosh. I lost it. How did that happen? I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead and I'll get to it after the break, because I know we got like 1 minute. But it has to do with Planet Jindal.
Oh, and I forget the name of I was asked that by somebody else too. He's talking about a planet that apparently people are taken away to, trained, and brought back. I suspect. But during the break, why don't you see if you can find that? I'm going to make a couple of notes of different questions that are popping up here.
Right. And I actually I've got a couple of questions on my own to get to. I'm going to be a little selfish tonight, but while I have you on there, I have to ask.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't we go ahead and I don't know if we can break early or not. Is that going to be a problem, or can we
not on the slightest from my end?
Why don't we go ahead and do that? Okay. So this is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host tonight, filling in for Dave Scott, Dave Cruz, And we are speaking with R. Keith Andrews. We'll be right back with the ET Connection. Don't go away.
"365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report and let's find out the answers together.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guests and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Cruz and SOR.
All right. Once again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight with me and our Keith Andrews. And we are talking about the ET connection and questions from you in all the chats. It's been a fascinating evening so far. I'd like to invite you tomorrow night to join me right here on Spaced Out Radio for Spaced Out Saturdays. And then Sunday night, Elizabeth Anglin has her Psychic Sundays on Spaced Out Sundays Cosmic Passport, both starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com. And again, we want to welcome everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are live on KTLK, The Fringe, as well. We're live as well on iHeartRadio in the U.S., and you can find us on TuneIn and iTunes for download. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Head on over to the website for some great features from videos from UFO Seekers and Contact TV. Shop at our store and pick up t-shirts, posters, and stickers. And don't forget to rock out to our resident guitar god, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, who is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. And once again, I just want to thank and I want to welcome back Mr. R. Keith Andrews. Thank you very much, sir, for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I'll tell you, this tonight has been one of the most active, and it's in Spreaker. The thing just about the whole chat room just about doesn't stop. It's almost a steady roll here, making it really fun. But I did, so I mean, the questions are great. They're coming from every angle today.
Awesome.
Which is, I remember when we started, when I was talking to you just before the show, Dave, you had mentioned that, it might get a little scattered, or you were concerned if it was going to get scattered. And I went, well, it usually does. Well, I think this proved it. What do you figure?
Oh, yeah. This totally proves it. And it's great, too, because it's funny that when it gets like this and Dave's not here. Dave's literally not here. For those of you that know that little pun from back in the 70s. But anyways, so Keith, I sent you that message of the question that God of Thunder in the hashtag Spaced Out Radio in the Twitterverse was asking is, have you ever met anyone from the planet Jendel?
Well, I love the question, and here's where I ran into a snag.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. And the reason for that is most of the time I meet people, I don't think to ask them their name, never mind what city they came from. Right? Like when I went back to Portland, Maine, the last 3 years running, I've been out at a UFO conference. I have no idea where 90% of the people came from. Right? I know we had a couple of guests that came from the Pleiades. We had a chap that, you think he come from off planet, but he actually came out of England. Right? But I have no idea what city he came out of. Right? There were multiple people from the States and Canada, but I have no idea what cities. I don't tend to ask people, the off-worlders, I don't ask what their race is. I don't ask what planet they came from. I don't even bother asking what ship they're from. And that may well be a shortfall on my end. But, for all I know, I could have met somebody from that planet.
And, that's an interesting point, because we really don't know, even if we're talking to an off-worlder or not. And earlier you were distinguishing the difference between off-worlders and hybrids, I believe. Was that?
Actually, when the discussion you and I were having was the way I differentiate between off-worlders and ancient races.
That's what it was. Okay.
Okay, and for those that are just joining us or any new listeners, I separate the two. I don't call them aliens, because alien means not from here. So if you look at, and this may well fit in certain cases, but if you're down in the States, okay, and somebody comes to you from Canada, they're alien. The people coming from Canada are alien to the people from the States. Just like the people in Seattle, Washington are the aliens when they go to New York. They're not from New York. Okay, but I look at the off-worlders as the people that are born off-planet. Okay, and ancient races are the ones that evolved on-site, on the planet. And Perrier Darrell has asked in Spreaker, do off-worlders have online dating sites? Well, I think that's a great question, but ultimately, yes. They've got their own versions of it, but the reason for it is because, well, you meet a lot more people when you go online, and you still have to be cautious of who you're dating. People that figure that online dating is so much easier. No, it's not. You still have to be careful. You still have to get to know the person. And if the person slugs you in the side of the head and says, I love you, they're lying. Okay. That's just plain not
given. Yeah.
It should be, but it really isn't. I mean, there are certain rituals that in some races that actually is right, but amongst humans, that's not right.
No, it's not.
But, I went back through because what's this? Char, there has to be a tell to be able to determine if it is alien or not. Really? Sadly, Char, that's kind of like going, there has to be a telltale to tell when you look at somebody if they've got an appendix. Okay, not all aliens look different. Nordics look human. Mobians are human. When you take a look at when you look at Venusians, they look very similar. When you look at the just drew an absolute blank there. Arcturons look very human. You know, they don't, it's not a question of being a telltale, you know, because they really aren't that necessarily that easy to show, to see. On the other hand, when you take a look at a Strazosian, it's pretty black and white. You got a bipedal reptile standing upright, walking around. It's not human. And since I've opened that funny little door, no reptilian race is here to screw up the political system. Mankind has done that quite nicely. You know. Now, you know, and so, I mean, there's a lot, and I went back quickly through the Spreaker chat room anyway, because, like I mentioned, I wanted to take a look at some of them that we were looking at, you know, some of the questions, and Bob Davis has made a comment. Some of these are comments, some of these are questions. I really don't know which, because frankly I spotted what I could and made a quick note of it. What do we got here? I just got sidetracked, which is just plain normal.
I got to bring this up though. Dennis Koch in the Spreaker chat just made a comment. I'm disappointed the Queen is not reptilian. How so, Dennis?
Sorry.
Yeah, what can I say?
The sad thing is this. I don't remember if it was the late 70s or the early 80s, but there was a show on way back then called V. That is where it seems this whole concept of the reptilians stepping in and taking over the government came from. Okay. Ain't working that way. If the aliens wanted to take over government, they would kill the people in government and take over and say, we're here. You know, it's just that black and white for them. You know, which I know is not what, you know, is not what people understand, if you will. People seem to think that they're here to override the world. Eric goes, so the notion that Venus is uninhabitable is false. Yeah, it is. And the Venusians would really have a little bit of an issue of somebody saying they can't live there. It would be kind of like humans going, well, you can't live on Earth. Okay, or the Martokians going, no, I'm sorry, living on Mars is not possible. You know, so humans have are flooding the airwaves with it's not possible to live here, it's not possible to live there. Now, there are some planets I wouldn't recommend living on. Wolf 235 is a bad planet for humans to live on because the density, the gravity, and the particulates in the air will strip a human to the bone in a heartbeat. Not a good place to live. True Pleiadians are not, it's not recommended they move to Earth because the atmosphere will physically kill them. Bad place to live. You know, so it really depends on who we're dealing with. But, you know, when we're talking about, Dennis goes, the royal family being reptilian, actually, I knew they couldn't be because of the point they're not able to go to cold climates. Hate to tell you this, but England is awful cold, at least from what I understand from the few English friends I've got.
I've heard the same. I have heard the same.
Perry Darrell has said, did you see the newscaster who has something in her throat, looks like she swallowed a mouse? Is she reptilian? Well, first of all, we'll have to go with the no, I didn't, because I don't watch the news. I figure I don't need to listen to people lie to me to figure out what's not going on. And I know that's a blanket statement, but it's proven to be way too true more often than not. But understand an enlarged Adam's apple, even in a female, is sometimes nothing more than a hormonal amplification of that genetic trait. She may well be just a standard human who happens to have a larger Adam's apple than normal. Okay, now I want to get back to a couple of questions that we passed. Bob Davis in Spreaker had mentioned that he's seen reports of people having serious accidents, and when they awake, they're speaking a different language or an accent that they didn't have before. That is caused because when you're in a serious accident, it can damage the brain. And I believe it's the medulla oblongata that gets damaged, that shuts down the language center and triggers past life memory where they've picked it up. They're remembering it from a prior life, or because they heard it and it just got sunk into the back and they forgot about it, but it comes to the surface. Okay, that is caused because the brain, I've heard varying reports. The human brain uses anywhere from 8 to 12% to do everything they understand. And with that in situation, with that in mind, that leaves you 88 to 92% doing things that humans haven't figured out yet. Okay.
I've got a question, maybe kind of a comment. Sorry, I didn't know you weren't done.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to get back to the reptilian questions. And maybe, I don't know if this means anything or not, but I always thought that they were subterranean. And so...
One race, well, there's 3 races of them that are.
Oh, okay.
See, the Chitauri, which they evolved on Earth, are centered in Africa. Okay. They literally are Terran. They did not come here from anywhere. Okay. So from that standpoint, they are subterranean. Okay. There are a couple of other races that actually evolved from the dinosaurs, but they live on the inner, in what many people have called inner Earth. Mm-hmm. So technically, yes, subterranean. Okay. But you are right. And of course, the quaddles stay out of sight most of the time. But they are off-worlders. They are reptilian, but they're flying snakes.
Right. Hence all the reptilian snake gods that are like in the jungles, with all the temples down in South America and so forth.
Yeah, and quite honestly, they are. But you got to understand, when we're talking about them being put up on pedestals like gods, let's understand something. If I give you a Bic lighter and you conceal it in your hand and you go to the middle of the Congolesian jungle and you mutter hocus pocus or whatever you please in a language that the Congolesian don't understand, and you flick that Bic without showing them, and fire pops out of your hand, you're now a god.
Right.
Okay, it's that simple. So, do they have different abilities? Are they more technologically advanced? Yes. Sadly, this does not mean they're more spiritually advanced. Now, staying with the reptilian side of it for a minute, Dennis in Spreaker is asking, so what do reptilians want? I have always heard them being put in very bad light, vicious, warlike, etc. Well, we can break a few of them down. Srazazians, 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptiles. They are here. They are allies of humans. They are doing their level best to help mankind in spite of what mankind keeps doing to itself and them. They are military based. They are very capable in combat, but they don't pick fights. They have a tendency, if they want to end a fight, if they're forced into a fight, they will finish it. But these guys come from a high G planet, grow their own armor. And, well, they do use medieval-style weapons like a mace. But a mace, for those of you that don't know, is about a 2-pound chunk of metal on the end of a stick. These guys have a tendency of using a chunk of metal about the size of a medicine ball and put that on the end of a stick. Okay. You can picture what kind of a mess they're using.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Teklex originally came to strip the planet, found out that mankind was here, and though evolved, though mankind was sentient, they tasted nice. That triggered a civil war in the Teklex, because many of the Teklex are raptor like 4.5 to 5.5 foot long. And they've got a civil war going on because they don't all agree that the planet should be stripped now that they know this planet is full of sentient people. When you look at the Tormenon, offshoot of the Dracos, Tormenon are, simply put, well, they're mercenaries. If you watch Jupiter Ascending, you'll see a Tormenon. Beautifully done. Strazazians are, by the way, they're also an offshoot of the true Dracos, but they're a lot more sociable than what the Dracos are. Dracos run anywhere from 10 to 12 feet tall on average, fully winged, and they frankly want to run everything after it all settles. They don't want to fight. They just want to control it all after it's all said and done. You know, the Geckoids, well, frankly, they want to survive. They're not interested in running this planet. They're not interested in getting killed. But they are a curious little group. Now, Dennis says, and I have a problem with Venusian for so many reasons. Atmosphere, pressure, temperature, they would look totally different than us. And that I would absolutely concur with. Especially when you take a look at their lung system, Dennis. They don't breathe the same air. Which is one of the reasons why they don't tend to show up here very much. The biggest problem many people have with the different races is people keep trying to put them in the category of how they would look because they don't look like humans, or they should, or humans can't live there, so nobody can. That's where people run into the problem. Okay, you take a look at, Westerners. Westerners on the whole don't do well in a desert environment, like in Chad, in Africa, because Westerners are not used to that kind of temperature. Okay. It depends on the people. It depends on the type of world. Okay. There's a couple of other real quick ones I want to get to, and then we'll get back to everything else here.
Sure.
Because I do my best to try and get like this. As you can see, the questions tonight are phenomenal. It is just astounding.
They really are.
Eric asked, is there a canine race? The answer is yes. There's actually a couple of them. When you take a look at the Lycan, which are a wolfen race. Okay, they are not shapeshifters, but they do look very canine by nature. Okay, there is also a bear-style race. Okay, a Bruin style, which, by the way, is also technically canine. Tracy is wanting to know if ETs are afraid of nukes. Not in the slightest. ETs have the capacity to shut nukes down. Nukes are kind of like being afraid of a candlelight. Okay. That's where we run into an interesting problem. Now, Susan Mack had asked, she would like it if off-worlders would assist with human illness. Well, here's the sad part. They did. They handed, back in the 60s, and I don't honestly know whether it was the U.S. government or the Canadian government, but they handed the world the cure for cancer. Frankly, mankind didn't turn it over to mankind. It's, they've got the cure. And they are making money off of keeping people ill. And I get in trouble with humans and doctors for saying that. Where's your proof? Well, I'll tell you what. talk to the military, talk to the major corporations. You get the proof. I just tell you what I see, and in about 30 years, they'll come out and tell you. Okay. Where it comes to some people getting operated on, some do. I don't profess to understand how they do their picking and choosing. Okay. Because there's so many complications with that side of it. Okay, those were just a couple of the questions from way back, and I do apologize for taking that long to get to them, but let's face it, the speed this is rolling by is just incredible.
It's happening in Twitter as well. I'm really, really seeing so much activity going on in the hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
Fantastic. Do we have any questions that have come out of Twitter yet? Because I really cannot, I'm not tracking Twitter. I just don't have enough screen room.
It's a lot more comments than actual questions, but it's great. It's just moving.
Oh, okay.
It's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. So this is to everybody out there. If you do have questions, for pity's sakes, put them in all caps. Otherwise, we're certainly going to miss them. I mean, we're having trouble keeping up with them anyway. Now, I know Tracy has asked if I will tell her, if I'll tell everybody one of my more interesting abductions that I experienced. And I'm going to try and get through a couple of these, and I'm hoping you're still on at the as we go along. But I will try and get to it. Oh, yeah. Now, do ETs Dennis goes, do ETs put out fake news? It sounds weird, but why not put out false stories to cover up their activities just like we do? Well, the reason they don't bother, at least not amongst humans, it would be kind of like humans putting out a false print on the side of a tree trunk to tell tigers that humans don't exist. Okay. They don't care. They do care that humans try and, shoot at them every time they come out. But then humans seem to try and shoot at everybody. And you'll notice I'm not specifying one race or one nationality over another. But they don't bother trying to cover up the overall picture. They do put false stories and false memory implants and false amplifications to help humans cope with the fact that they've been abducted, because they're trying not to disturb human life on the whole. Okay. Now, Christopher's asked, do Greys have a homeworld? Well, the answer is to that, absolutely yes. Okay. It is, quite frankly, it's very, it is rather humid. It is very shaded. They do, very shaded and very warm. When I talk about it being shaded, it's because of the plant life there. Okay. So the reason they don't have hair, they don't have fur, is because they don't require it. Okay. They breathe, a lot of the time they breathe through their skin, so no, they are not amphibian. Hold them underwater, they will drown. By the way, that's rude, and it will not make friends. Okay. So, they've got a really neat system, because the short ones are the scientists, and that's what they do. They study. The tall ones are the controllers. They're the ones that dictate what people do. And if people want to get a real clear picture, the best picture I've ever seen, and it was done by Hollywood, was watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It'll give you a phenomenally accurate picture of what Greys look like. Okay, now do understand Greys come in multiple places. In multiple colors, rather. Just like humans come in multiple colors. Tracy in Spreaker has asked, do I have a website? Well, the answer is yes. I've actually got a couple. Now, the reality is I'm only just getting them up and running, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. But the the website that I just picked up and I've got to bring online is innervoiceenterprises.ca. I do have, if you go into Facebook, you will also find me on Inner Voice Enterprises. And, of course, and who is it? Trippin has put my email in there, which is innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. I'm going to make a correction here, though, Trippin, and we haven't actually managed to talk about this. The webpage on Facebook, Universal Portal of Peace, I personally closed down. Okay, I had to pare things down, but I will be opening up another one. I just picked up the website, surprised the heck out of myself. You'll love this one, Dave. I managed to get sanctumsanctorum.ca as a website, which surprised the heck out of me that I was able to get it. .com was gone.
Oh, wow.
And I told one person about it. Because of the field I work in, frankly, it worked out beautifully in my eyes, because it really boils down to the heart of a research center, if you will, from all levels. Okay. So the hard part, what do we got here? Dennis has got new species, adaptation to our new climate change world, genetic manipulation on our side or theirs, radiation exposure, low ozone showing cosmic. Oh, okay. All of this, it looks like Dennis is listing off a lot of the different impact points that are causing modifications in human evolution. And the answer is definitively, yeah, they will. Is it going to cause some interesting changes? Yes. And of course, humans are slowly, from a spiritual standpoint, waking up, which is actually a good point. Now it's just a case of getting the wisdom to catch up to it.
We talked about that a little bit earlier today, too. And I believe I had asked if, are the ETs standing by when it comes to, or are they aware of that? I'm sure they're aware of, but are they just standing by? And you mentioned this earlier too about, they basically let us do what we're doing, and they're observing us. But say like with chemtrails, and yeah, I'll be the first to tell somebody I do believe there are chemtrails. And I believe that they're trying to terraform this, this planet, whoever they are. But why hasn't ET stepped in if they have a general, if they have a general value of this planet, if you will, because it looks like it's going to crap right now.
Well, it is, but here's what you don't know. And this actually came up quite some time back. Yes, chemtrails exist, and people can argue the point all they want. It won't change it. However, what you're not aware of is there's a secondary type of chemtrail that is also being dropped in to counteract what mankind is doing to itself. Okay, so it's not a question of they're not doing anything, but you may not realize it. What you have to watch for is a change in the texture of the color of the chemtrail. And I know that's really odd, but it is the way to tell. And you're not likely to do it from the ground. Not all of the chemtrails are actually negative. Some are counteragents. Okay. So, are they trying to avoid mankind wiping itself out? Yeah. Kind of counterproductive to have your observation deck completely eradicated.
Right.
But you are right. And, the scientists that tell you, there's no such thing as chemtrails, well, question whether or not they're actually scientists.
And, actually, Keith, this year they are starting to admit, at least NASA is, that they have been doing some sort of tests and experiments in the sky, along with this person by the name of David Keith, who is an advocate of geoengineering, which is just another label of chemtrails.
It's also the rudimentary base of the HARP system.
Right.
See, the HARP system is a first-generation atmospheric generated, designed by man to modify atmospheric conditions. Okay. Is it being used as a weapon? Well, oddly enough, the answer is also yes. Just because the technology is being built for a positive reason does not mean humans are smart enough to actually use it for that. Besides, in order to figure out how to fix something, it's a heck of a sight easier to tear it apart first. The thing I concern myself with is people seem to be trying to kill off the planet they're living on. And, you know, humans are the only race that I know of that is actively, either deliberately by choice or by abject apathy, killing the one planet they live on. Other races are certainly known for killing off other planets, but they're not known for deliberately killing off their own.
Exactly.
You know, which is, you know, kind of a pain in the neck in a lot of ways. You know, people talk about why don't the aliens come down and clean up this mess? Well, my usual response is, why don't you? And I am referring to people on the whole. You know, people go, one piece of litter doesn't matter. Well, one piece of litter probably doesn't. But if 100,000 people in a city all add a piece of litter to the ground, you've got a mess. You know, this is where it becomes a problem. You know, so are the off-worlders trying to get information to people to straighten this out? The answer is yes, and some people are listening. You know, some people are making the effort. But the greater majority of humans don't. And, you know, that will upset some people. Am I perfect myself? Absolutely not. Trust me, if I were perfect on this one, I'd be gone. I have watched so many races, so many civilizations on Earth kill themselves because they were stupid, short-sighted, and or self-centered. It's absolutely amazing that mankind has gotten back to this level. You know, that technology has gotten to this point. Dennis in Spreaker has asked, okay, so when is the end of this research? What happens after the ETs complete what their objective is? I have heard they are quite old, but even at 500 to 900 years old, their research has to have a goal. Absolutely. The goal from the ET stand, from the Grey standpoint, is the rise and fall of man. It's that simple. They are watching the evolution of mankind. They're watching it go through its growth and its end. You know, its growth and its, the hills and the valleys. It will end when mankind is extinct. Okay, It's quite literally that simple for them. Okay, some races are only looking for a few short-term issues. You know, some races are just frankly curious. Dennis goes, so I was right. We are going to end ourselves. No, actually, I don't recall that's what I said. Sadly, that really isn't the setup. Mankind has a choice. They can save themselves or kill themselves. Okay, it's up to them. I'm just going to read something here. Trippin put in Spreaker. In 1975, Weather Modification U.S. and Canada Agreement. In 1975, the U.S. and Canada entered into an agreement under the auspices of the United Nations for the exchange of information on weather modification activity. 1977 UN Environmental Modification Convention. Main article, Environmental Modification Convention. Weather modification, particularly hostile weather warfare, was addressed by the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3172, etc., on the prohibition of military and any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques. The convention was signed in Geneva on May 18, 1977, entered into force on October 5, 78, ratified by U.S. President Jimmy Carter on December 13, 79, and the U.S. ratification deposited at New York, January 17, 80. All of that is pulled out of Wikipedia. And, Trippin, thank you so much for the information. It's always nice having somebody that can actually find this information. Myself, I can't find a local menu for the restaurants. So, give me a holographic interface, I'm good to go. This, another issue. Okay.
Bonnie has a question.
Yeah, you're referring to the one about are most of my ET experiences educational or experimental? Mm-hmm. That's the one you're referring to?
Correct.
Yeah. And I do appreciate you keeping on top of that as well. And yes, I do feel for you. But most of my experiences now are educational. Okay. Very little is done from an experimental standpoint from me, as far as I go. Although last year or the year before, they were kind enough to straighten my arm out. Okay. I had actually woke up and it felt like somebody had amputated my arm and rearranged it and then put it back. And at the time that happened, quite frankly, there was another person that had a dream that they thought was a dream about tearing a strip off of one of my Swiss-Aussian friends. And basically what they had said was, look, if you're going to keep taking him up there, for pity's sakes, would you mind repairing the arm? Well, the second time that happened, they had that, and then a couple of days later, I had the same feeling again. And I kid you not, until just the last couple of years, I was never, with my right arm, I could never reach my right shoulder. My arm would not go there. Now I can. But most of my time up there now is actually spent consulting with them and helping them understand humans and where human strengths are. So when people ask me, do I prefer aliens over humans? Not in the slightest. I prefer people with intelligence, and I don't mean people that have a high IQ. I mean people that think. I've met some people with from an educational standpoint, very limited education that are absolutely brilliant and a hoot to be around. I would rather deal with real people, regardless of what their genetic makeup, than people that are so dumb and so dense, and dumb's the wrong word, so dense that they think they're better than other people. And I don't care what kind of money you've got in your pocket, that doesn't make any difference.
No, it doesn't. And let me just add to that, closed-minded people as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, than I'm looking for the right word, but chosen ignorance. Okay. If you elect to be ignorant, in other words, you elect not to look into something or not to even contemplate the possibilities, it's a very short conversation I'm going to have with you, because I don't see the point. Okay. I was told just the other day by somebody that there has never been a war on Earth, ever. And that nobody has been amputated, nobody's been killed in a war, and everybody that's an amputee it was a birth defect. Well, I'll tell you, talk about getting unhappy in that one.
I don't smoke what they're smoking.
I don't, because apparently it drops your IQ completely through the floor.
Just saying.
I know a number of veterans that would tear somebody like that in half. Trippin's got added in here, HARP, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, now owns and operates the high-frequency active auroral research program and invites the public to an open house Saturday. This is interested visitors' chance to learn about the scientific mission and research at the Gakona facility, which was transferred last year from the U.S. Air Force to UAF. And again, he's got website addresses and what have you. And frankly, at the speed things are scrolling through here, that's always fun. The reality of all of this is mankind has to realize that, that when you're dealing with what is going on the planet, okay. Uh-oh. I'm just looking in Facebook here, in SOR, and Elizabeth Anglis has been, she literally wrote birth defect this. And,
Oh, yeah. I see it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with her. Don't get me wrong. That was the person that told me that. I was anything but politically correct. So I mean, when we're taking a look at this, like I was just looking back here a minute ago, Dolly out of Spreaker has said she recently had a dream about emergency surgery on her left thigh, and the reason I say her, quite frankly, is because I'm looking at her picture and it shows a female, so I'm guessing that fits, But the real question there, Dolly, is whether or not you felt different after you woke up than you did before you went to bed. That's usually the giveaway right there. So I mean, we're looking at a lot of things going on. Yeah, Dolly, you're missing Dolly in Spreaker. You're missing limbs is a birth defect. You can't ever lose limbs in combat. Don't be stupid. Yeah, exactly. I absolutely agree. What did we do here? Yeah, good thought. Yeah, nice, Dave. Dave puts in the Spreaker, I'm just kidding. I don't need to smoke on anyone's stash. I have mine. That's kind of along the same lines of I've got a little bumper, like a bumper sticker. In all fairness, right now it's used as a magnet that says, I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. But I look at the number of things going on, and the off-worlders have so many different reasons for coming here, but one of the biggest reasons is to try and help people, try and help the human race, which they don't separate between colors. Okay, bear in mind, there is no difference to speak of in the color of somebody. 90% of the time, the pigmentation is because of location. Okay, it's because of the way they evolved. So one of the thing that we have to look at, is when you're looking at this planet, people talk about, we can't have a one world government, it'll take away everybody's rights. Well, people have the right to be stupid, and there is no fixing stupid. People have the right to be self-centered. They have the right to be closed-minded. This is one of the nice things about Earth is people have the freedom of choice to do all of the above. But you conversely also have the right to look at other people and go, you may look different than me, but you still want to be covered. You still want to be taken, treated respectfully. You still desire to be listened to. You still desire to have a roof over your head. Humans from every walk of life still laugh. Okay, when they're happy, they laugh. When they're sad, they cry. The off-worlders have the same sets of emotions on the whole. If they're in a good mood, they giggle or chortle or snort or whatever their body does. You know, when they're unhappy, they can get depressed, right? You know, the problem is that some of the cultural traits are a little bit disorienting. Mind you, I've heard that in the Middle East, people eat insects. Myself, not so much into it. But it's another form of food. I'm not one to say that's a bad food. It's just, for me, not a good idea. You know, Christopher in Spreaker has put in here, for the otherworldly dreams, besides the space station I saw, is a planet with a very thick atmosphere and very lush plant life to the point it's shaded. Okay, I'm presuming there might have been more to that. That sounds like you're looking at quite frankly, at the Grey's homeworld. Okay, the atmosphere, in all fairness, isn't so much thick. Well, I guess technically it is, because the oxygen content is a heck of a sight higher. Okay, Dennis has said that they've got an alien contact office in the UN, a real office that was formed in the event of alien contact. Few people know it exists, but countries have not come together on this and probably will not at any time soon. And, you know, Dennis, sad to say, I do tend to agree with you, although that is exactly what we're working towards. The off-worlders are striving to make contact. They tried with the governments, and back during World War II, it's a well-accepted fact that Hitler had contact with the off-worlders. What most people don't realize is so did every other one of the major nationalities. You know, they all had it. Okay, you know. Dolly has responded to what I had asked. And what she said is, yes, I am female. I do feel different. At the moment, I'm experiencing pain that kept me awake last night. It was a dream with my MIB handler and a blonde-haired woman with long fingers. They removed a cylinder object that was torn open with a strange golden thing inside. They cut my leg in a triangle shape, and I was awake for the whole thing with my MIB handler holding my chest down.
Horrible.
I'll tell you, that can be absolutely frightening as all get out. And thank you for relaying that, Dolly.
Yes.
Basically, what that looks like is they went in, corrected a problem, and put you back together. In all likelihood, give yourself a couple of days and you'll be fine.
But why don't they erase that memory? Or at least put in a screen memory?
Well, don't forget, they're trying to make contact, and with some people, because the people are open-minded enough, like, for instance, the energy I'm getting off Dolly is she's one of these people that doesn't fear the off-worlders. Okay? And that can be the deciding factor right there. Many people, and, you know, I've heard military, like, specialists, you know, SWAT specialists or your Green Berets. I've talked to them, and it's like they're great until they face an alien, and then they buckle. Not all of them do, but because, you know, you're trained to deal with normal things. Okay, but they have a tendency of, you know, doing things a little, you know, trying to deal with things. You know, humans are not necessarily adept at dealing with what they think they're adept at. Okay.
Well, we're coming up on that time again, Keith.
Are we really?
Yeah, we got 1 minute to the break, and again, I wanted to get to some of the questions, but it's just been amazing in, you know, the chat rooms tonight.
Well, tell you what, you've got some questions that are obviously lined up, or you've got some questions that you had. As soon as we get back, how about if we start there?
Yes.
And we'll see where we can go from there.
I like that idea. So let's do that. When we come back, we'll get to some of my questions, and we'll talk some more with R. Keith Andrews. This is Dave Cruz filling in for Dave Scott. and this is Spaced Out Radio. Don't go away. We'll be back right after this.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guests and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Cruz and SOR.
All right. Welcome back. This is Spaced Out Radio, and tonight I am your host, Dave Cruz, filling in for Dave Scott, who is rocking out right now with Guns N' Roses. I don't know if he's with Guns N' Roses, but I know he's at the concert, and I'm sure he's definitely having a blast. So tomorrow night, you can join me on Spaced Out Saturdays. And then Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin has her Psychic Passport. And both shows start at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. And we want to welcome everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Newman, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. And we are live on KTLK The Fringe FM as well. We're live as well on iHeartRadio in the U.S., and you can find us on TuneIn and iTunes for download. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Head on over to the website for some great features from videos, from UFO seekers, and Contact TV. Shop at our store and pick up t-shirts, posters, and stickers, and don't forget to rock out to our resident guitar god, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, who is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. And again, don't forget to catch me Saturday night, tomorrow at 9 p.m. with Spaced Out Saturday. Tomorrow night's guest is Sebastian Martin, advocate for consciousness and the creator of Ensuho. You don't want to miss that. But tonight we are speaking with Mr. R. Keith Andrews. And welcome back, sir.
And thank you very much for having me back. And I'll tell you, I really want to say thank you to to you for actually stepping in for Dave. You're doing a fantastic job. And I tell you, anybody is going to have trouble tracking the speed the questions are coming in today. You know, it's kind of like watching the Super Bowl and trying to figure out which way the ball's going to go.
It's pretty amazing. It has been. I mean, it's coming from all sides, definitely. But I have to give you the credit, Keith, because you've just been amazing. And dare I say, a plethora of knowledge.
Well, I do appreciate that. I mean, I spent my life trying to convince my own parents I wasn't completely off my nut. And, I actually lucked out on my dad's deathbed just last year. He literally told me that he apologized for leaving me, for trying to convince me or encouraging me to believe that my memories were wrong. He told me flat out, sadly, he was the only one in the room, but he simply told me that that everything I remembered was real, but he couldn't tell me before then. And I'll tell you, that made all the difference in the world.
Sure it did. Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to say, you had mentioned that you had a couple of questions lined up. And that and we said we were going to deal with them because at the speed things are going, we're going to get completely lost in the shuffle again. So I figured I better focus on that first.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I was going to mention that, as a matter of fact, and if it's all right with the space travelers, I kind of wanted to share a little bit of my experiences as far as ET and UFOs go. I've had, sightings a few times in my life, but I think what's more disturbing to me is the fact that I have this real big problem with looking at gray aliens in either movies, on TV, pictures, little dolls or whatever. And I am not sure if it has something to do with maybe an experience that I had that I can't explain or I just don't remember. And I'm not about to get regressed. Now, that being said, I did go to Contact in the Desert, not this past year, but last year. And I had met some people who said that they were in contact with ET. And one of them came up to me and we talked about that. And when I told him about why I'm doing this, or why I asked him, I have no clue why I'm doing this, and I told him about the gray aliens. He said it's because you have had an experience. You've been contacted. And one more thing before I get your comments and then So this is what I wanted to say. We're talking about dreams tonight, and there was a very vivid dream a while back ago where I was on a spaceship. I was on a ship, and I remember being on a white table. It was metallic inside, and I remember that you could see outside the ship, like windows. As far as the paneling and panels go, it just seemed like it was all white. But I didn't see anyone else. I didn't see any aliens or people or anything. It was just me at the time. So with all that said, Keith, what do you think about that?
Well, number one, extremely high probability that you're dealing with a gray abduction.
Okay.
Okay. Couple of things that point in favor of that. And I understand your issue around regression. It's very problematic and so many complications can rise out of it. But a couple of things that point in favor of it. One, every time you look at a picture of a gray, you go into a bit of a panic attack without having any functional reason why. Okay. Two, the issue of the room that is white, it looks paneled, you've got windows that you can look out, and it's all smoky, but smoky or hazy, but there's nobody else in the room, is quite frankly normal.
Okay.
And I call it normal as in everybody I've spoken to just about with regards to grays has gone through the same sort of thing. Okay. So it's a very high probability that you were taken. Certainly, I can't prove it. Well, that may not be 100% correct, but I'm not about to go there. Okay.
Right.
And clearly it wasn't an enjoyable thing, because if it was, you wouldn't be having panic attacks and anxiety whenever you look at a picture of them.
You know what's bizarre is even in movies like Paul, which is a comedy.
Yep.
That little guy freaks me out. He really
freaks out everybody that isn't on a joint.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, at first I thought it was just me, but the one that really freaks me out the most, and you pointed out to this, and by the way, they just re-released it in theaters, I think tonight, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Is the tall gray.
Yeah. That's a piece of information I'm glad I was trying to find. I'd heard wind it was coming out, and now I'll check the locals again, the local listings again. And I call it checking the local listings. I'll drive down to the theater and check. You know.
Right.
But I do want to go back and see it. That one, ironically, didn't scare me. The one that threw me for a loop was ID4. Independence Day. You know, so what you were talking about, that one little experience where where you see a picture of a gray and you go nuts. You know, you get anxious, the whole 9 yards, you can't watch it. That is quite a common issue. Okay. You know, so don't, you know, and not wanting to get regress. There's a lot of people that do regressions that shouldn't, and they screw it up royally. So I can understand your anxiety. Tracy in Spreaker has asked, Keith, have you had missing time? What was that like for you? Well, this goes back, and I forget who it was. Somebody asked me right at the beginning of the show about one of my, more memorable experiences, and missing time was involved. Now, you got to understand, when I was I'd have probably only been somewhere between 9 and 12 years old, right in there. I lived 1.2 miles from a air base. Okay, my dad was military. The road that I walked, there were 2 dead-end roads that were within view of what we called the S-turn, and the road looked like an S. And one road that went way down right beside the airbase, right down beside the fence, and then dropped into a long hill down onto a beach. Other than that, there was nothing to get in that 1.2 miles to get lost. There was nowhere you could go. I walked over to a friend's place, around the S-turn, and to the first corner, like to the first dead-end road. Went down to the end of the dead-end road, visited my friend, and came back out. Now, you could see the S-turn, you could see the corner from the dead-end road. When I came out, I got lost. Now, I knew I didn't go down the hill, and I paced up and down this 1.2 kilometers of the road. Okay, and if you ignore the point of the S-turn, it was a 1 mile stretch of road. It took my parents 4 hours to find me on that road. And by the time they found me, I was absolutely beside myself. And I couldn't figure out, it took me until just this year to figure out what had happened. Now, we're talking 40 years of being submerged. Okay, of this memory being lost. And I'll tell you, in a nutshell, and this is why I'm not about to go into, I'm not going to go into detail on on what happened on that ship, because the result of it was I suffer from PTSD that is triggered by hospitals. So, anybody that tells you that PTSD, that this sort of experience doesn't have an effect, that it's all, people all just getting hyped up about it, I have some very less than politically correct statements for them. And I know the people that are listening in today, especially the few that are unfortunate enough to actually suffer from PTSD themselves, I'm sure they've got about the same comments. But we're talking 4 hours that you just couldn't. I was on foot. You can't get lost for that long without going off. Okay, so when I talk about, I tell people I've been through what you're going through, and people are telling me, well, nobody can go through that much. Yeah, I wish. And there really is something to be said for people that suffer from the issue of PTSD. You just don't know how to cope with it. Now, Bonnie's asking here, does the council have ultimate say about if aliens are harmful or helpful to humans? Well, they certainly don't control whether they're harmful or helpful, but they do limit the impact as best they can. The thing is, because aliens on the whole see humans as a lesser life form, or as children, or any number of ways, they aren't as restrictive as you might like. But then, take a look at the way that humans treat animals, or each other for that matter. Okay, much as there's an authority that says you can't beat a dog to death, there's a lot of humans that will.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, do understand my opinion of a lot of humans. 1 is a lot. Okay, so for pity's sakes, if what I'm saying, if it doesn't apply to you, do not take it on. And rest assured, there's a very, very big difference between disciplining an animal or your child and beating the living stuffing out of it.
I have to agree.
I'm just glancing at some of this. Now, I think you had more than just the one question there, Dave.
It kind of escapes me right now, but if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up.
Fork, light socket, great way to get a shock. Doesn't do much for the memory, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Oh, wait a minute. That's not right.
Right.
That just was not nice.
I'm sure it wasn't. There was. I did see a question in Spreaker chat, and I think it comes from Bonnie. Does the council have ultimate say about if aliens are harmful to humans, or harmful or helpful to humans?
Yeah. We were actually just let's see. You gapped out on me there, Dave. I'm allowed to pick on you now.
Okay.
We actually just covered that, but there's a lot of people that will have missed it.
I just missed it. I am so sorry.
Not the only one. The reality is they don't control which ones are nice and which ones are bad. They give guidelines. They certainly have a say in, no, you're not invading the planet. No, you're not going to go down and screw up the already scrambled political system. Okay. No, you're not going down and picking up people in broad daylight so you can have a snack. It's not going to happen. This doesn't mean that some don't get through the morass of rules and break them. Tracy's asked, did I ever try regression? The first time I ended up getting hypnotherapy done, we were trying to bring my memories back. And because essentially the first 20 years of my memory of my life was a great big haze. I had a few pieces of memory, but we were trying to get the short-term memory working. And it was kind of funny because we didn't actually intend on it happening. And that's when things really got confirmed concerning my abductions in the first place. When it comes to past life regression, the answer is yes, I have had past life regressions done, But in all fairness, 90% of the past lives I remember didn't come up by regression. They came up because I simply woke up knowing them. Okay, memory resurfacing. Okay. Trippin has asked, Mr. Andrews, I know many Africans believe in off-world UFOs, but why does it seem not many American Africans don't seem to believe or even take an off-planet? Or are they equaling it to religious experiences? And I was planning on getting to this question earlier, and Dennis in Spreaker also has confirmed or made the comment that a lot of them chalk it up to human interaction or to religious issue. The reality of it is that many people will chalk their experiences up to a religious belief, a religious or a spiritual experience, because it's the only way they know how to work at it. And the quick sidetrack before I go there and this thing gets out of hand. In answer to your question, Tracy, would I be willing to experience it? Yes. I don't have a problem with it at all. I've still got gaps in my several thousand years of memories I'm putting together, so it certainly doesn't bother me figuring out where they were. It's always entertaining finding out, well, that's why I did that. Especially considering the fact I keep running into people that I knew from past lives. That's always enjoyable. Well, in all fairness, not always, but Eric has asked, are there any repercussions for getting caught breaking the council's rules? Yeah, but, only death. It's a pretty mild little issue. They don't torture you. They just do you in. Which may seem brutal to mankind. They don't bother with incarceration. If you're going to break the council's rule on the planet, they're not going to bother trying to re-educate you. They don't believe the council does not believe in 4-member worlds. They don't believe in second chance. They take it as, if you're going to break that rule, we're going to terminate you, and the second chance is for other people to realize, because they'll do it publicly. They don't do it with much ado. There's no, 80 years of legal interaction or arguments. Okay, and of course it's a little hard to argue when you're dealing with telepaths. They really ruin the whole idea of concealing what you did. So, the sad part, is they do have repercussions, but people don't get secondary shots. Dennis goes, so have ETs looked at the internet? That is kind of like have ETs, breathe the air in their own ships. The answer is definitively yes. If you think Big Brother is a problem, as in the government watching, you should try what the ETs do, because they pull it apart piece by piece, and they're not looking to control anything. They're looking to understand how man ever survives. Because if you take a look at ants run hither and yon, and they get things accomplished, but they're very organized. Humans work more like marbles in a hurricane. Nobody's got any, there isn't any functional structure, and yet they still evolve, they still advance. So the off-worlders do find the human race fascinating, but also frightening in a lot of ways.
Well, that's understandable. Liz has a question in the Facebook SOR Space Travelers page. And she is asking, are there different factions among, say, the Greys that want different things to happen on Earth? Please tell me you didn't cover this.
Well, first of all, no, I did not.
Thank you.
Are we really... Now, of course, I could really complicate that, but no, I did not. I did that, just on a side note, I did that to a chap. We were watching a James Bond marathon, and I went out to get a beer for a friend of mine, and I walked into the room, and I and I brought the beer and I looked at him. I said, shaken or stirred? And he looks at me and he goes, shaken. In front of him, I shook the beer and handed it to him. And he looked at me and goes, please tell me you didn't shake that. I said, I didn't just shake that. Well, really? Needless to say, he got soaked. Right. And his comment to me was, I thought you said you didn't just shake that. I says, well, you asked me to. You asked me to tell you that. Just like you just asked me, please tell me you didn't just cover this. But no, we did not. Now, the answer to Liz's question, are there different factions among, say, the Greys that want different things to happen on Earth? Absolutely. Fortunately, the Council is what matters, and they're the ones that make certain that things stay put. Okay, so that humans are still the ones in dominant control of how this planet evolves. Not genetically, okay, and they're not interfering with the genetics on the whole, but I mean how the society evolves. The Council is aiming at mankind being the ones in dominant control of that. Okay, I get a kick out of this. Dennis goes, weird stuff, and that wasn't the word he used. Weird stuff happens on paranormal shows sometimes, so just wondering if ETs look in on broadcasts. They watch in on a lot of things, and especially with SOR right now, we have had physical proof that off-worlders, and he comes up every other time, and Dave's going to hate me for this one, but Carl showed up and has been a pain in the neck in a lot of ways for the last couple of years here. So we know for a certainty that the off-worlders are watching SOR rather intently. It's not the only show they're watching. Okay, if they want to watch comedy, they watch the House of Commons. Now, Tracy's gone, do you believe E.T. can float around like spirit, making it difficult to differentiate between the two? Well, it depends on the race. Okay, some can, some can't. Okay, Strazazians don't float that well in the air. On the other hand, if you take angels, they're handier than hecking getting up in the air. If you take some of the races, that they can literally, shadow people can fade out of existence, so you just plain don't see them. So there's a lot of different ways that can happen. Donna's going in Spreaker. Do you think some of the encounters people have with aliens are simply the aliens trying to find those with an open enough mind? The answer is definitively yes. They are looking for people that the off-worlders do look for people that are willing, that are able to cope with the concept of physically being in proximity to off-worlders. Okay, because one of their biggest jobs, one of the off-worlders' biggest jobs, is to help humans turn around and actually come up to speed so they can work with the consortium, become a part of that. Become a part of the overall side of it. Okay. Liz in SOR in SOR Space Travelers is just making comment. It's more taboo for most of them. The ones I know would not talk about with anyone but me. But Bud Hopkins saw several African American abductees. They would be in their 60s and 70s now. Okay. African Americans are taken, just like every other nationality, every other sexual orientation, every religious line, every walk of life has people taken. Okay, this is one of the most compelling reasons for looking at the number of abduction cases, and the ones that, and I'm just talking about the ones people claim.
Right.
Okay. If you just take a look at that, never mind anything else, something has to be going on. Okay. People keep talking about when is full disclosure going to happen and when is the government going to tell us they're real. And I keep asking people, why are you waiting for the government to tell you it's real? You're asking for the government to come out and admit aliens are real when they won't admit their budget doesn't balance. They won't admit that they are making really stupid decisions where it comes to simply letting things like wasted food happen, wasted resources happen, and they're setting the laws in place to encourage this to happen. These are the people you want to tell you that they are off-worlders? I personally just don't wait that long for people. Now, yes, I've got the advantage. I've been through it. Now, some people will quite readily tell me, you're making it up to have, to get attention. I've been a recluse for 50 years of my life because of the fact that I didn't want the attention. But the situation has changed. This isn't a question of this isn't a question of whether or not I can prove it. Because frankly, if I want proof, well, good luck. The military has most of it. Now, Tracy in Spreaker has asked, where do you find your list of different types of ETs? Well, it's not so much where you do find it, so much as where you're going to. One of the reasons that I picked up the website, sanctumsanctorum.ca, is to do just that. I have a massive job on my hands, and that's part of it. But I will also be putting a book together. I am in the process of getting the artwork done for it, and I will be bringing some of the pictures of the ships that I've got. And you're going to have to pardon the fact that I don't have a functional artistic bone in my body to speak of, but I am bringing some of the pictures down to the Paracon on September 23rd, along with some of the information. So, I mean, there's a lot that is now starting. Tessa, this would be Keith speaking. Dave is quietly breathing in the background. At least periodically I hear him breathing, so I'm guessing he's not dead yet.
No, I'm not dead yet.
Like this.
I'm not stoned yet either.
Yeah, you read that too. Eh?
Oh, I read it. I just sound like it.
Keith sounds nasal, and Dave sounds stoned.
No, I always sound stoned. Just so you know, I'm a very laid back person.
We're just not going to touch that, okay?
Hey, I wanted to ask you. So, what did you think of Doctor Strange?
In all fairness, I liked it. It wasn't as. It probably could have been done better. I'm no. Shall we say, creative genius on that end, but a lot of what he showed is very real. Okay, they did a nice job in explaining what he was capable of.
Right.
It's one of the things that I actually have had the pleasure of being able to replicate some of it.
Were you able to astral travel?
Oh, that was child's play. I did that when I was born.
Really?
Yeah, trust me, astral traveling when you're in ICU the day you're born is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, they get humans get testy and they turn around and electrocute you to make sure you stay home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to mention or actually comment on Dennis's comment. He says it was very amazing that Doctor Strange could actually be done from the comic books. I thought it was great.
It absolutely is. And you'll notice, like, when this man passes away, right, when Stan Lee passes away in time, we are going to miss one phenomenal creative genius, because he really is the father of 90% of the characters out there. Right. But no, the neat part about the Doctor Strange movie is it does show how important that whole side of it is. Having that place that you can center, having that place where you can create the world you're aiming for, but also showing the responsibility that goes hand in hand with it.
Right. Yeah.
Tessa's asked, are there a plethora of aliens? And the answer is definitively yes. I've dealt with in excess of 50 of them, on a direct basis. There are a staggering number of them out there. And in all fairness, a fair chunk of them around here. That's the...
I'm as far as what I mentioned about being freaked out about gray aliens, I would still find it, well, I guess I just want to know the truth. Sometimes not so much, but in this case, I really do want to know if we've been visited, or at least I want to experience that, but in a good and positive way.
See, now there's the intelligent thing. I've heard a lot of people go, I really want to have an experience, and I don't care what picks me up. I just want to be picked up. And I'm thinking, are you right out of your mind? Like, I literally had somebody tell me one day they wanted to meet a werewolf, and they were willing to chase it into its own lair to see it. And I'm thinking, that might not be the best move. That's kind of like, slitting the sole of your feet and going swimming in the Amazon River in certain areas. It's just not a wise idea. But the fact of the matter is, what do you consider proof?
Well, I guess see, that's the thing. I say that I freak out when I see a gray alien, but and I think most people would, but it would also be confirmation that we've been here, or that we've been visited, or like I had mentioned in my dream, just remembering that I was on a ship, on a vessel, and I could actually see outside and see that I'm in, that I'm traveling through space.
Right. No, I get a kick out of this, and it's just a side comment that Eric made in Spreaker. He just, it was mentioned a staggering plethora of aliens, and Eric goes, a staggering plethora? They must play our drinking games.
Right.
I
bet they do.
Okay, this one we keep coming across virtually every show. Donna has asked, are all aliens interdimensional? And Donna, and I get in trouble for this every time I make the comment, and I'm used to it, so it don't matter that much to me, but Donna, none of the aliens are interdimensional. Never mind, are any of them, or are all of them. They are at different vibratory rates. They do move at different paces, and they can become invisible by vibrating at a higher rate. But they can also become non-corporeal by vibrating at a higher rate. The reality is everything in this universe is, in all fairness, everything in this multiverse is three-dimensional. Okay. And, a lot of people are being told it comes from Dimension 5 or Dimension 11. Doesn't work that way. It isn't physically. There are certain laws that don't break, like time travel is the other one. People cannot travel backwards in time. They can travel forwards in time. They can look backwards, but they cannot travel backwards. And there's a lot of, I got a kick out of it. There was somebody that Dave was actually trying to get on the show to talk about time travel. And, well, politely put, the genius decided that he wouldn't talk to people that were not scientifically inclined. I'm guessing that he figured that we were beneath him or we didn't understand. And, so we couldn't understand his incredible intellect. Of course, I kind of find it entertaining with people because I've been told that by a lot of people. Well, I've ended up confusing quantum physicists, astrophysicists, medical doctors, because I end up telling them things that are on the leading edge of what they're working on. And I was very successful at failing college. I figured I didn't do bad, though. They diagnosed me mentally retarded to start with. So, well, actually, in all fairness, they diagnosed me dead before they got to the mentally retarded.
Amazing.
So, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of things. I'm trying to keep up. I tell you, this is the most, and I do mean this as a compliment to everybody, because the questions that have been coming in have been absolutely phenomenal, but they've been coming in at a bizarre level as far as from virtually every walk of life.
Fantastic. Actually, I got one for you, too, from the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. This comes from John Porter, and John wants to know, why are the aliens so infatuated with Whitley Strieber's, well, let's just say, derriere?
In all fairness, I didn't know they were. Now, I'm going to ask you a really bizarre question, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. Understanding I am one of the worst read people on the planet here, okay, which is really sad when you think I'm an English major. Who's Whitley Strieber?
Oh. The author of Communion. He's...
Oh, I've got his book. Okay. Yeah. By the way, I've got his book. I've never read it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, I did say I was one of the worst read people.
Sure, yeah.
Also got most of Bud Hopkins' books, but I haven't read them either. See, I think I might have a copy of Fire in the Sky, but on the other hand, I actually met Travis.
Oh, Travis.
And I'll tell you,
I met Travis. Yes. I met Travis
Did you?
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I managed to spend a week with Travis. That was a riot. I'm actually one of the few people that can honestly say that, here we are. I met him out at the Experience or Speak conference, and he actually had to reset my shoulder after an ET encounter. That was enjoyable. Not.
Yeah, I met him at the Ozarks 30th anniversary conference, UFO conference. It was great. And, he's very interesting. I only got to talk to him for a few minutes, and that was very kind of him, as he was so swamped with everyone just, swarming around him. And, it was really cool. By the way, Eric, I met David Adair as well. I got to talk to him as well. And, he's a very nice gentleman as well. Keith, Bonnie has a question for you in Spreaker chat. Here we go. I mean, it's been that kind of night. Was you NDE at birth, and did it have anything to do with your ET experiences?
No, two factors. The question that she's trying to ask was your NDE? I'm presuming you know what an NDE is.
Near-death experience.
Good. Okay. Number one, yes, my first NDE was at birth. I actually did it to myself. I was not impressed with the way I was treated when I got here, so I left. And I ended up running into the Council of 12 when I first left. It was like, I've had enough of this. I'm going home. And when I got cut off by the Council of 12, cut off as in they stopped me from leaving, they looked at me and they went, "Where are you going?" And I went, "I'm going home." "Well, you can't. You've got a major job to do here." No, I'm done. I'm going home. I don't care what job I've got. I've had enough. "You signed a contract." I said, "Look, I didn't sign up for this abuse." It's like, I'm not going back. I've had enough. And because I'll tell you, people that tell you that birth is a wonderful experience, don't get me wrong, I love my kids. I've got 2 of them. I love both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But people that tell you that birth is a wonderful experience don't remember their birth. So I told these guys, I said, ain't going to happen. I'm done. Well, they told me I had a massive job to do. I was not permitted to go home. So they sent me back. And, the method that was used to get me back was the humans on this planet turned around and electrocuted me. Also known as defib. Right. But trust me, when you're newborn, that's called electrocution. So, I mean, was it annoying to say the least? The answer would be, yeah. No question that, no question there. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, I made a number of runs at trying to make it home. They kept sending me back, telling me I had a major job. Well, they're right. I have a major job, and this is why I picked up that particular website, the Sanctum Sanctorum, is because that's where I'm starting it. Okay, that's where I'm starting to do the work to pull everything into balance. And one of the biggest tasks I've got, and this is why I've told people all along, I'm willing to go on the radio. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to go and talk at the live conferences. If people have questions, feel free to contact me either through SOR or you can email me directly at innervoiceenterprises.ca. Finding me on Facebook isn't that hard, but when you're looking me up, understand that the picture I use is a hand-carved wooden UFO. Okay, that's the little sigil that I use. I actually had that particular thing built for me. I actually commissioned somebody to build it. Mm-hmm. Dennis is asking, how come researchers, experiencers, events never match up? You go from one extreme to another where the alien experience does not resemble the other at all. So who is the truth? Well, sad to say, we got to understand, Dennis, and everybody else are listening, because of the number of different people, a number of different races, and the number of different abductors, because of the variety, you're going to have different experiences. However, there are multiple cases where people, and I forget exactly which one it was, but I know it was one Bud Hopkins did out of New York, where there were multiple people from multiple walks of life that he ended up dealing with, that it turned out they all had the same experience. Like, they all witnessed the same experience from a different angle. From a different visual perspective. So, I mean, this is where it becomes, it's not a question of they don't match up. It's a question of there are so many possibilities that it becomes complicated trying to find them. Trying to find the match points, if you will.
Right.
Okay. Where are we here? Oh, look at that. Dripping goes, this has nothing to do with abductions here. There's our third Aussie. We now have 3 Australians in the house.
That's great.
So and Dennis said the Hopkins case I was just talking about, he said that was the first one he ever read about. Like I told, there was another gentleman I used to talk, that I still talk to, but one of the first ones I was dealing with by the name of Charles Dansberg. He used to work for MUFON down in Texas. And like I told him, one of these days I should start researching this stuff instead of just living it.
Well, why research it when you can live it?
Well, the thing is, I don't have the physical proof. All I've got, that sounds really bad, is a whole pile of memories that other people get the fun of trying of corroborating later. Because my proving what I know is a major problem. But this may be, this may have, for some people, this may be some evidence. The CIA, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, but the CIA, their jurisdiction is essentially in the States, right?
United States.
Yeah. I had the CIA actually show up on my doorstep up here in Canada looking for information on UFOs. Okay. And I spent 4 hours talking to them about this, which was entertaining from my part, but they were not happy with me.
Oh, of course not. But I mean, well, in all fairness, they probably could. I mean, they have no jurisdiction maybe, but just to see, well, let's see if this guy actually talks to us. That maybe it was that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and it could have been. I mean, I ended up spending a fair chunk. The stupid part was she insisted on going out and sitting on this one mountain. What she didn't know was she was sitting on top of an alien base, which was, I thought, funny in one sense. But when all was said and done, she looks at me and she goes, "You don't have, you've got nothing you've told us, my government, let's try English. You haven't told me anything that our government doesn't know." So, of course, my comment, and this is where my political incorrectness comes in. She turned around and, quite frankly, said, she made that comment. And I says, well, your government either doesn't know or your government is stupid. Your pick. And she goes, "You can't call my government stupid." I says, well, first of all, I'm an English major, so I learned. Second of all, you're in Canada right now. And of course we're going to call your government stupid. I call my own government stupid. Who is it? Dennis here has said they weren't CIA. And that I would have agreed with. And no, I did not see their ID. But I did talk to the people from the aircraft that had identified them also as CIA. So whether they've got jurisdiction up here or not, well, let's face it, they don't necessarily play by the books anyway.
No.
Okay. So
we know this.
This is why I say things happen to me that I can't prove one way or the other. That's where it becomes a problem. But we have an interesting complication here. We've only got a few minutes left.
You're right.
Holy mackerel.
And honestly, I don't know how Dave ends the show on the Friday nights that he has, particularly you, for the first, Friday of the month. So,
well, I can answer that. I'm going to answer one other real quick question, then I'll give you that answer.
Okay.
Before this disappears. Tracy asked one more question, silly one. Do you believe in God, or do you have your own gods? I wholeheartedly believe in God. You're going to love this one, Tracy. It has something to do with the fact that I met him. And I do quite literally mean that in every sense of the word that you can think of. And that in and of itself is a whole lot longer story than the 3 minutes will happen. Eric, in answer to your question, Dave, Eric just answered it for us here. There are times when, and it depends on what kind of shape Dave is in, what kind of shape the crowd is in, what kind of shape I'm in. And Eric starts it off with overtime.
Overtime.
Tripping. Overtime. Andy. Overtime. You know?
Nice.
You know, this is, you asked how it ends. You know.
I think Tracy's actually answering for me. Did not expect that answer.
Well, it really does depend. Like, what I don't know is if there is actually a show coming on tonight that you're supposed to be firing into gear.
I don't know. I know that's not a very good answer, but it's an honest one. So,
I always like answers that are that way inclined. Yeah.
but I do feel that we probably, should end on time tonight. And I apologize, everybody. But I do know that I will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 midnight Eastern. And that will be with SOR Saturday nights. So I'll be back.
Well,
but
I'm just going to throw one added little bonus in there for the people that are listening, considering it's for this radio station anyway.
Yes.
But from midnight until 2, unless I get told otherwise, I think I'm supposed to be on S4 again tomorrow night.
All right. Excellent.
Well, that's midnight to 2 o'clock Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if we watch the Spreaker, I'm dang certain we'll end up with an answer in about 15 seconds.
Right. Well, I think, that's cool. I'll definitely have to check that out. But it's been a great ride. Keith, thank you so much for making this a blast.
It has been a real pleasure. I mean, the speed today has gone. I mean, usually the day goes by in a hurry.
Cray.
Yeah. And Dennis. Yeah. Oh, this is cute. Dennis goes, yeah, Keith, Coop volunteered you last week.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, well, I told you.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, Keith. Where can everyone find you at your new locations or your soon-to-be new locations?
Well, the easiest one is if you Inner Voice Enterprises at yahoo.ca, you can find me real easily at. If you go onto Facebook, and you can find Ronald Keith Andrews on Facebook. They're actually coming up in Spreaker, but you can find me there. And the thing with finding me there is the image that I have is a hand-carved wooden UFO. You can also find me on Inner Voice Enterprises on Facebook as well. And in the very near future, I will have 2 websites coming up, innervoiceenterprises.ca and sanctumsanctorum.ca.
I love it.
And of course, find me here. I'm sure that Dave or yourself or any number of the people that are in the chat room, I'm pretty certain will pass on information to get to me.
Right on. And I'm sure that information will be over at the spacedoutradio.com as well. There should be some links. R. Keith Andrews, once again, thank you very much for joining me and me filling in for Dave Scott. This has been fantastic. Thank you all in Spreaker, Facebook, and in Twitterverse. Love you all. Have a great night. Hasta.
Thanks.
I built them to destroy myself. They're circling the prey. I push until I break. I feel them start to scrape. The core of all I am is chiseling away. And every speck of life is gonna rot away in time. We touch a light or touch a sound, it's a grand design. to fight hard till I'm lost inside. We all self-destruct, love is to deny. And that is life. And the clocks, they never stop, they tap beneath my skin. And the clocks keep building up, they rip new holes again. You're here to turn me